Will look familiar to you. This is part of our collection, and we thought it might be fun, given our theme this year of iconic engines of the Big Three, to put this one in operation. The Chrysler Hemi's are one of our iconic engines, and this car is equipped with the first generation Hemi engine. It's got a 354 cubic inch firepower V8 engine in there with that hemispherical head. This car, though, is significant because it was raced by a fellow by the name of Kiekhaefer. You see his name there on the side of the car. He owned Mercury Marine, the manufacturers of outboard boat motors. Around about 1953-54, he was paying attention to the market, and he thought, you know, probably a lot of folks who are watching NASCAR races are also sportsmen, outdoors enthusiasts who are potential customers of Mercury Marine engines. So he thought, what if he perhaps sponsored a team, got into racing, and had some advertisement there for his business, and it worked out pretty well for him. Now, Mr. Kiekhaefer did nothing by half measures, so when he was in, he was all in. He spent roughly $1 million of his money putting together what was at that point the most professional team in all of NASCAR. This is a time when a lot of drivers were still showing up racing in slacks and t-shirts. They would pull the cars in on a trailer. Some of them would actually drive the cars in under their own power. Not so for the Kiekhaefer cars. They went first class all the way. He had actual transporter trucks that brought the cars to the races. He hired the best drivers. He paid top dollar. He had his crew all in matching uniforms. He had his pit crews rehearse their pit stops to improve speed. And Mr. Kiekhaefer, being a born engineer, also tested these cars. He would run his engines on the dynamometer to test their performance before and after races. He would run testings on the motor oil to see how the oil was affecting engine wear in the cars. Just everything first class. Our car is a survivor from 1956, the second year that Kiekhaefer was out there. And his teams absolutely dominated NASCAR. In fact, in the 56 season, at one point, they won 16 races in a row with these cars, which was just unprecedented at that time. And unfortunately, sometimes, as we know, success can breed resentment. So the fans got a little tired of the Kiekhaefer cars going in and winning every race, and grumbling a little. And at this point, Kiekhaefer realizes that, you know, maybe I'm actually losing more customers than I'm gaining. So almost as quickly as he gets into the sport, he pulls out in January of 1957, but not before, amassing just a tremendous record and creating a lot of innovations. But this is our 56 Chrysler 300B. Interesting features on the car. First, you see it's basically a rolling billboard, the prototype for a modern NASCAR stock car. It's got the Mercury trade name on it. People ask about that full jeweled and what that means. Sadly, it does not mean that if you open up the hood, the engine is all covered in rubies and emeralds. Instead, it's a reference to the Mercury motors themselves. The bearings in those motors, there were no bushings, no simple bearings. They were all ball bearings or roller bearings, good services. So, borrowing from watch terminology, where they would use actual jewels and watches as bearing surfaces, they refer to the Mercury boat engines as full jeweled, so the name just appeared on the car as well. We're going to have this open in our tent throughout the weekend. I encourage you to take a look at it. We'll have the hood up as well, so you can take a look at the engine in there, but you can also take a look at the one of the other interesting features we can't see from here, but there's a hole cut in the firewall with a trap door. The driver would have a rope hooked up to that, and he could pull open that trap door and see the front tire there as he's going around the track, check for tread wear, tire wear as he's driving around. And that leads me to an interesting anecdote about one of Kiekhaefer's drivers, a fellow by the name of Tim Flock. He, so far as I know, he's the only NASCAR driver to date who has ever driven races with a monkey as a co-pilot. He actually had a rhesus monkey by the name of Jaco Flacco, who rode with him, I think, on 10 races. The last race didn't go so well. The monkey pulled open on that firewall trap door, poked his head under there, and it basically freaked out. And the only thing worse than driving